FC is a good friend of the Big 550, KTRS. Bill McDermott, are you there?
I guess not.
Yes, we got him.
Oh, we got it. Bill McDermott, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am, McGraw.
Thanks for checking in, Bill.
Sure.
Big news this morning. It just announced about an hour and a half ago that U.S., Canada, and Mexico will host the 2026 World Cup. Your initial thoughts as you hear this news?
It would have been a travesty if anybody else in the world would have not only submitted a bid against these tri-hosts. I know that's not a word, McGraw, but they had everything at the ready. Now, the one unique thing, really unique thing about this World Cup in 2026 is that it's going to be the first World Cup with 48 teams and 80 games, 60 of which will go to the United States, 10 to Canada, and 10 to Mexico. I was a little facetious when I said no one else bid, but Morocco did, but they would have had to build everything, whereas for these three countries, everything is immediately in place. So this was indeed the right move for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about St. Louis for a second. Are all of the spots or all the game sites already determined?
For 2026, no,
Yeah.
sir, not by any means. But there's no place to play in St. Louis, unfortunately.
So that they couldn't retrofit Busch Stadium or anything like that?
Could not.
No.
And unfortunately, because it is immediately during baseball season, and it's difficult enough to, indeed, as you put it, retrofit it when the exhibition games were played down there, and it would be impossible right during the baseball season.
If St. Louis had an MLS team and had built that stadium, would that have been enough to host an event for the World Cup?
It would have been feasible, McGraw, but with reference to the United States having all these games, 60 of the 80, they will air on the larger size venue. Case in point, the World Cup's been in business since 1930. This is the 88th year, McGraw. And in 1994, when the United States had 68,991 as an average attendance, that's due in large part to playing at venues like Giant Stadium, the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl. So they will err on the side of larger venues for big events like this.
But Kansas City's going to host a couple of events, aren't they?
They will host World Cup games. They may with these 60 games, they may host some early rounds, but it's because they have an existing soccer culture with reference to their MLS team. Now, you bring up the point: had St. Louis been involved in MLS and had a venue of 25,000, yeah, there might have been a feasibility for some early round games. But when you get into the round of 16 quarter semis, they go to larger venues.
Yeah. Bill, talk about that soccer here in St. Louis. Cincinnati was just awarded a franchise. Nashville was awarded. One of those would have gone to St. Louis if we would have gotten our act together. Where are we on this front? Any rumblings about a franchise coming to St. Louis?
There are no rumblings whatsoever, and you're 100% right, McGraw. One of the franchises would have gone to St. Louis. Had the vote passed last April 4th, 2017, just to give you an idea of the state of readiness, the overall project could have begun the next morning, Wednesday, April 5th. That's how ready they were to go on this overall stadium venture. The league was really looking forward to having St. Louis as a part of their overall structure, but now they are committed to 26 teams with Nashville, most recently, and then Cincinnati even more recently, as you pointed out. So teams 27 and 28 right now, McGraw, it looks to be Detroit and Sacramento. It's by no means a given and a definite, but those look to be the odds-on favorite to be 27 and 28. And Commissioner Don Garber has said that will be it. We will no longer expand after 28 teams.
It's interesting. A lot of people said that there was a plan B in St. Louis, right? Even if the vote fails, these guys, there's a plan B. Turns out there was no plan B. There was only one plan.
I had this from an unimpeachable source. There never was a plan B. No, sir. All the eggs were in the proverbial basket, which was 100% valid. It was one of the best deals ever that the league was going to get, because of the existing soccer culture, the name equity for the sport of soccer in the United States. We've talked about this so often, McGraw. The birthplace of the sport in our country is St. Louis. It used to be the soccer capital here. in St. Louis of the United States. That's no longer the case. Where that is, no one knows. It's everywhere now. But it is without still the birthplace of the popularity of the sport in our country.
Yeah. All right.
And
Well,
that's why it's so disheartening not to be a part of this overall MLS picture.
yeah, no, it's an interesting point. U.S., Canada, Mexico announced today they will host the 2026 World Cup. Bill, love to hear you on the air with the St. Louis FC, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you, McGraw.
You got
Talk
it.
to you soon.
Mr. Soccer, Bill McDermott has forgotten more about
Mr.
soccer.